Hello everyone, welcome back to Code for Teachers. This is Chapter 2, Section 4, Multiplication with a For loop. So what we're going to do is we're going to begin our two-part lesson that we actually want to give to students and introduce or reintroduce some math concepts using computer programming. So we'll start from the premise that multiplication is just repeated addition. And if that's true, then we can write a loop that just uses the addition operator to create the effect of multiplication. So we can take two numbers and repeatedly add one to the other. We might ask, well, what kind of loop do we want? We now know of a while loop and a for loop, so which one is appropriate in this case? Now remember that for loops are just syntactical sugar for while loops, so we could use a while loop for this, but we have to ask ourselves, do we know how many times we need to loop? And we do, because either term, if we're taking two numbers, 5 times 3 for example, either 5 or 3 could be our loop counter because of the commutative property, right? 5 times 3 is the same as 3 times 5. So because we know, whichever way we construct it, we know how many times we're going to be doing the loop, we're going to use a for loop. So let's think about our program design and what this is going to look like, and then we'll jump into the code. So we're going to take two numbers, we'll call them x and y, and then we're going to create a product variable which is initialized to 0. So this is going to be where the answer is stored. And we're going to loop either x or y times, doesn't matter which one we choose, but whichever one we choose, we're going to use the other value and repeatedly add that value to the product. Okay, let's jump into the code and see what this looks like. Okay, so I have my skeleton here. I haven't put any code in, just some comments. So we're going to take two numbers and we're going to print their product. So let's make our two terms. Let's call it x, and let's do 5 times 3, right? So x equals 5 and y equals 3. And our product, as we said, is initialized to 0. Product equals 0. Okay, so now we need to loop. We need to write this repeated addition. So we're going to use that range object that we used in the last video. For I in range. And we can use either x or y. So let's use x. Now we're not actually going to see I inside of the loop, but we're going to use this structure to make the loop run that many times. So we're going to loop 5 times, which means we need to add 3 to the product 5 times. Put that colon there. I'm going to say product, because that's what we're changing, plus equals y. Now remember, we could reverse this. We could say for I in range y, and then product plus equals x. And that would be 3 loops of adding 5 each time. In this case, we're going to do 5 loops, or 5 repetitions, of adding 3 to the product. And we'll print the product, just like this. Okay, so if we run this, we get 15. Now, obviously, there are some things that we could do. We could use input to get the values of x and y from the user. We might make the print a little bit friendlier, saying the product is, different things like that. But this is a working model of a multiplier that demonstrates that multiplication is in fact repeated addition. All right, that's it for this step in the lesson. In the next video, we're going to finish the lesson with the next piece of this, which is taking the idea of repeated addition and dealing with division as perhaps repeated subtraction. I'm Michael Taggart. Thanks for watching Code for Teachers.